Ardial, Aigan. We're looking at the top 8 culture shocks of Australia. Now, this sounds really fun. As hundreds and hundreds of videos, I feel like I have done, covering and learning about Australia. I'm not sure if we've done straight up culture shocks, at least in a long, long time, or maybe even at all. So this is kind of exciting. This was suggested to me by Stevie in email. So thank you for that. This comes to us from a channel called Dad Johnston Life. This will be linked down below so you can watch the whole thing uninterrupted. And of course, please browse their channel as well. This sounds really fun. Let's just get straight into it. Some predictions from a lot of stuff that I've learned from you guys. Some of the culture shocks that I would expect going in would be one thing I was shocked to learn about is like the car culture, the motorsports culture, big time, really strong, really awesome, really rich history in Australia when it comes to that kind of stuff. I'd say the food, right? Lots of variety of food, total differences in local food, different franchises, different cafe culture, and then of course like Australian staples, as well as a lot of awesome food from Europe and Asia and stuff, just because different proximity, different tastes, the whole 9 yards. That has been one thing that's been really enlightening as well. Let's go.
We're moving to Australia. Australians love their sport, but unless you're from Australia, sometimes the sport is a little bit strange. For example, football isn't football. And I'm not really talking about soccer, or am I? It really freaks me out to say the word soccer. For me, I know what football is. And for Australians, they also know what football is.
Yeah.
But when you move to Australia...
So that part is a little similar. That's what I'm used to. Football, again, our football is different than Australian football too. But yeah, NFL, or in this case, AFL, that's football. And the one you kick around, that round ball, that's soccer.
Just resign yourself to the fact that you're now probably going to follow the minority sport. And also need a special subscription just to be able to watch it. Football in Australia can mean many things. Football for me means soccer. But football in Queensland means rugby league. And if you come from one of the southern states like Victoria or South Australia, then football can mean AFL. And I still don't understand how that game works. But
yeah, AFL and NRL, both really interesting. Although I got to say rugby league looks super, super cool. I tend to lean towards that. I don't know.
want to learn. You can still have a beer at an AFL game, right? But if you come from the UK like me, and you still want to watch your beloved football, then you're going to have to become a social hermit, bound to the wee hours of the night, just to watch your darling Premier League. If you don't like it, then take up one of the other many forms of football. And if you're American, well, they also kind of play baseball.
Ooh, okay, so they do have a little bit of baseball culture. I know, obviously, cricket is really big in Australia. These uniforms are actually kind of cool. But that is cool to see Australians, albeit probably on a way lower level or popularity level than here in the U.S., obviously. It is cool to see that baseball is present because I do love baseball. That's my favorite sport of all time. It's what I grew up playing the most by far out of any sport in history. So I am a baseball guy at heart, and that's cool to see. And if you don't remember right now, because it's off season, but as of last year, the White Sox, Chicago White Sox, my favorite team, we do have an Australian pitcher, so that's pretty cool.
And stuff too, but probably not your form of football. Be like too hot in all the pads and stuff. Or imagine getting a spider in your helmet. The second shock that we had coming from the antisocial rest of the world is the fact that in Australia, people are actually friendly to you. I mean, don't get me wrong, like, people are friendly in other parts of the world. But Australians are kind of like this weird level of friendly. People greet you on the street. Neighbours come up to your house and welcome you to the neighbourhood. People actually offer you help. Now for me, being the antisocial hermit that I am watching my Premier League, people being friendly to me was a little bit weird and it just took a little bit of getting used to. But when it happens to you in Australia, it really does make you realise how nice the world can be. Now hey, you're going to think to yourself, people around the world are nice, and lots of them are. And you normally notice it when you're on holiday. Maybe it's the weather that makes people happier. Because I can tell you that the dreary darkness of winter kind of makes people the opposite. To be honest, this is one of the best culture shocks of Australia. Calling all social recluses out there. If you move to Australia, it's going to make you a better person. No one wants your social awkwardness or unfriendly banter. Australians are genuinely friendly, unless they don't like you. But there's no beating around the bush. It's only straight. Now, coming from the northern hemisphere...
Yes, that's true, and I respect that.
On the other side of the world, having a cold Christmas becomes a rite of passage. But here, cold Christmases, Welcome to the heat, my friend. Christmas in summer. It's hot. Really hot.
Yeah.
If you don't have aircon, you're gonna struggle. It's not dark. You and your family aren't just confined to one room, watching each other open presents you probably didn't even want. Wishing that the TV was on so that you wouldn't have to make awkward conversation with family members who you hardly ever see apart from the festive time. Wondering to yourself, is it too early to start drinking yet? The fact is that with Christmas in Australia, you get to take all of the good bits of Christmas, like presents and spending time with family that you actually want to spend time with, and then add all the good things of summer, like going to the beach, spending time in the pool, having a barbecue in the sunshine. Don't hang on to your old traditions of Christmas, like your roast turkey with all of the trimmings. I mean, do hang on to them, but don't whinge that you're doing it in the heat. Have a barbecue instead. Savor the...
I think this guy absolutely nailed that comparison between a northern wintry Christmas like that and then the Aussie Christmas, right? That was perfect. I don't have anything to add. That it would be a huge shock. It would be a good shock. It'd be awesome.
Wonder that is a potato bake.
I am envious of an Aussie Christmas for sure.
Did we not have these in England? Or if we did, I never had one. They're gorgeous. Make new traditions and embrace the fact that Christmas in summer is now your new life. Now, coming from cosmopolitan Europe, I was kind of used to this next one because people on the continent sometimes like to have a siesta. But at least they opened up the shops and stuff again. Now, I know that this can catch out the average Brit visiting Marbella for the first time and wondering why in the middle of the day all the shops are shut. But in Australia, it goes to another extreme and shops just shut early. Want to get a coffee after 4 p.m? Yeah, nah. Don't be crazy. Why would you need that much caffeine in your system at night? It's going to go dark in a couple of hours.
That's crazy because there are coffee places here, not all of them, but some of them stay open till 10 at night, some till 11 at night. And I've been known, not all the time, especially not anymore, but there's been some times where I have gotten coffee at, I don't know, like 10, 15 at night, and then done YouTube videos all night. You know, I've done it before. Sometimes I do YouTube videos during the day, in the morning. Sometimes I do them really late at night before bed. And yeah, that would be tough, having stuff closed early. I know this is a generalization. Of course, I'm sure there's exceptions. But generally, I have heard that before, that a lot of places close early in Australia. Whereas here in the U.S., it can be, of course, different from city to city. But there's usually, you know, at least a handful of places that are open all the time or open really late in most places in the U.S., and I feel like that is different. It would be a little bit of a shock.
Takeaway after 9 p.m. on a Friday? Well, you better live in the city centre. Ain't no one going to work after 9 p.m. in the burbs. You crazy? Unless you're in the major cities, things in Australia are rarely 24 hours. People have a life. They don't want to sit there waiting in a restaurant or a shop for your convenience. Don't be so selfish. Why aren't things so convenient? Well, it turns out people don't actually want to work all the time, and you need to respect that. Get a bit more organised. Enjoy a night in. Realise that thing you think you need, you probably don't need right now. I'm sorry that the shop's shut early, but if you don't have that thing you want right now, is the world going to end? Probably not. And if it was that important, you wouldn't have forgotten it, right? And this culture shock extends into the next one. And it's the work culture. And weirdly enough, most Australians don't like to work. I mean, they do. They do like to work. That's a massively sweeping statement. But fortunately for people who live here, we don't live to work. Working to live.
That is something the U.S. needs to, people here need to learn for sure. The work-obsessed culture is just gotten out of hand, right? I do think it's awesome to take pride in your work and want to work hard. But man, getting obsessed with work and working what seems to be around the clock and having no free time, and to the point where it makes you stressed out and affects your mental health and your sleep, that's pretty bad. I respect that Aussies have good work-life balance. That is key.
Live is an incredibly emancipating feeling. What's the point in going to work all day to earn money to then not have the time to spend it? I don't want to live a life like that, do you? Especially when you have all of this fantastic weather and beautiful scenery to spend it in. Except when it's...
Yeah, when you have beaches like that everywhere in Australia and you have this awesome sunny weather most of the year, who on earth wants to be stuck inside of an office all day? No way.
Fortunately for most Australians, this laissez-faire attitude to work extends to lots of different industries. If you're sick of the daily grind in your job, then come to Australia and you can do the same thing but not work as hard. Wouldn't we all want to just do that? But sometimes this incredibly laid-back nature can lend itself to some slightly weird / potentially unsafe habits. Barefoot in public? That one takes a little bit of getting used to. Especially living up here in the sunshine state of Queensland, seeing people go barefoot in your local Coles can be pretty much a daily occurrence. Lots of people do it, especially children. It's like they've got an allergy to shoes or thongs. Just put some thongs on, mate. Protect yourself. Now for us...
That is so weird. Yeah, that is just... I know that's been touched on before, but I've never... I haven't really seen that, shockingly, this far along in a lot of videos. How common is that? I'm sure it varies maybe state by state. I assume Queensland might be the capital for this, for barefoot in the stores and stuff. I also heard they do it really a lot in New Zealand as well. And it's just wild to me. It sounds actually kind of cool, but I am rarely barefoot outside of the house. I'm barefoot a lot in the house, including right now. And then, of course, on a beach or like even in grass, I like doing that. But never in a urban setting, ever, never in a store. That is just so foreign to me. It sounds really weird. It sounds dangerous almost. But I mean, if the stores are really clean, I mean, I guess go for it. It is pretty wild. And that's not even allowed here because stores have like literally, I'm sure maybe you've seen it in movies or something, no shoes, no shirt, no service. I think it's something like that. And yeah, I don't think anywhere would really allow that in the U.S. That's pretty funny.
As foreigners who are used to wearing shoes anyway, just to keep our toes
That is
warm,
weird.
seeing people go barefoot in public and it's not the beach or a swimming pool
Right.
can be a little bit weird. But actually,
Yeah.
rather than criticising or wondering if they've got asbestos in the soles of their feet, don't criticise. Join them. Everyone talks about that feeling where you can spread your toes in the sand and how liberating it can be. Well, just go barefoot in public, mate. You get that feeling all the time. Except when it's the middle of summer and you step on that black
Yeah,
tarmac.
that might
Maybe put your
be,
thumbs on there.
ooh.
Now, if you thought going barefoot in public was rather informal or slightly offensive, then wait until the average Australian speaks to you. Don't get me wrong, most of them are educated, eloquent individuals, but the average Aussie does love a swear. I even do it on the radio. The first time I heard
Dang.
on the radio in the morning, I was wondering if my driving was okay or if someone was shouting at me in traffic. No, it was the person on the radio. I've even heard them drop the odd which can be wholly confusing to some of the people watching this that don't even know what is. They can say on the radio, yet I'm cursy enough to bleep on my videos. What a beautiful country we live in. Now don't get me wrong, they don't go for the hardcore stuff like or bugger. Wait, bugger isn't really that bad, is it? Oh, I've buggered this up. But most Australians will drop the C-bomb at you as a term of endearment. How's it going? I know that for lots of people when they watch Game of Thrones, dropping the C-bomb was a big taboo. And if you don't like that word, sorry, Australia might not be for you. Because in Australia, lots of people like to swear and everyone's so you better get used to it. I don't think I've ever used that many bleeps in a video before. I really hope I bleeped all of those out. Now the last one is something that's awesome, but also one of my little pet peeves. In Australia, they have some of the best containers for sauce. In those little foldy things that just squeeze out perfectly. What's an invention? But in Australia, if you want the privilege of sauce, you have to pay for it. Want some tomato sauce, mate? Yeah, that could be 15 cents, please. Or 30 cents if you want two, because they're like really small packets. Now, don't get me wrong, not everywhere does charge for sauce.
Okay.
Thank the Lord. But lots of places do. And it's pretty common practice. If you're like my wife that just loves to...
So that would be a big shock. I've said this before about refills. And look, no word's perfect, right? I think that would suck at first. I don't know if some places do free refills in Australia or not, but that one is one that I really love about the U.S. that everywhere is always free refills. And then, of course, now on the sauce topic, as far as I know, or at least in my experience, sauces are usually always come with the food as well. They're not an extra charge. They'll actually ask you how many you want, so sometimes they might throw 2 in there, maybe 3, or they'll ask you, you want 3, you want 5, how many, and they'll just give it to you. Getting one by default and having to, pay for more, that would just, granted it's not a lot, but it would be a change, right? That would be a little bit annoying at first.
Slather everything in tomato ketchup. They're not only calling it ketchup is going to be weird in Australia, because it's tomato sauce, as I've been told many times when I get that confusing look asking for ketchup.
But I tell you what, your tomato sauce tastes really freaking good.
Yep. But like going to America and having to pay for something and then add on the sales tax.
I don't eat ketchup here,
if you
by
want
the way.
sauce,
In
you're going
the
to
US,
have to pay a little bit more. But the good thing is we don't have to tip, because everyone gets a fair wage. And Medicare. And gun laws. What a beautiful country Australia is. Now, if you're thinking of moving to Australia and you don't want to live in Melbourne or Sydney...
That would be a culture shock. Big time. That was a really good one. Thank you for that suggestion. This was an excellent list. Make sure to check them out in the description down below. That was really well done. I can't wait to hear your comments on this. Please tell me any shocks that you would like to add that you think I would experience or someone from across the world would experience in Australia that maybe weren't featured here. Throw a like on there if you enjoyed this, and of course subscribe to be part of this amazing community. Keep your awesome suggestions coming. My name is Ian. You watch an IWrocker, and until next time, guys, catch you later.